12 tribe breakdown is one of the world's best kept secrets. And that's something that One West had completely correct. And let's get some understanding.
They say it's all a facade, and that there's really no supreme God. They say it's all a coincidence. To me, I believe golden ratio is God's fingerprints. It's laid out in the sequence. It's mathematics that creates the matrix. It's designed by intelligence. The disobedient, those evolutionary idiots. I'm talking about the atheists, the hating us. That's why we keep on making hits. We do this for the most glorious. And don't forget about the kids. Teach about the Torah and who really built the pyramids. Teach about Yahweh and the color of his skin. The brother was darker than Wesley Snipes, but that's a fact that many might not like.
Malcolm X said before they killed him, he said that in the future, men are going to come before you, and they are going to tell you that you are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Malcolm said out of his own mouth, I tell you, believe them.
Is deep, believe we the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Do you know how good it feel to know that God real? Recognize when you see that 7th branch hanging. We ain't about camp banging. Some study DNA and English genealogy. Others use the brown paperback policy. Obviously for years I knew we was part of prophecy. Fled Madrid, our birthright hid. 400-year bid. Puerto Riches, Ponce de Leon, shallow graves and ditches. The Spaniards' conquest for riches is sickening, disgusting. Let's have an honest discussion without any cussing and talk about the abomination of the nation. We feared every curse situation gon' get worse. The Most High's firstborn, Jeremiah 31, 9th verse.
Ephraim got brothers in there that look just like Esau, the devil, the white man. Yet many of them are our brothers and sisters. Ephraim is the Puerto Rican, but the original Puerto Rican were black as tar.
It was the Most High that scattered us, Shiloh that gathered us, born in Bethlehem and raised up in Nazareth, the image of the Father in all righteousness, heir to the throne, but they made Christ a myth. Why is this? The enemy is showing his hate for me, right in front of our face, but we vote for them faithfully. What a low down and messed up state to be. It's gonna change, but we have to wait patiently. Can't live in peace cause they profile racially. Their justice system has no justice in them. Truly in vain is salvation hope for. When Christ take them down, they won't oppress us no more. All hail our King, he's taking his crown back. Jewels that I drop in the form of a soundtrack. Food for thought, praying that the Savior comes quick. Northern tribes, southern tribes is really just one stick.
The 12 tribes sign is up to date. We've had white guys come up to us 30 years ago. Get out, rich white guys, and get out the limousine and downtown now and point to the sign and say, how did you guys find out? And so we said, what do you mean? He said, that sign. How did you find out the information? We paid billions of dollars to keep that. There's a book out now, a white scholar wrote that went and did research on Mexico, and he came back to the same conclusion that we come to, that the Mexicans are the lost tribe of Issachar. Look, Israelites are not perfect. We've committed sin on this earth like every other nation and every other man. It's just a difference that we're God's chosen people.
as long, my sister, I know you've been reading the Bible, but as long as we say it's laid up, the wicked going to keep it. But God says it's time for us to tell that money, you don't belong to the wicked, you belong to us. And I want you to get in the right place. Money coming to me now. Somebody help me dance up here. Glory to God.
He is here. He is here. He is here. Ooh, ooh,
There comes a time that you have to learn how to inspire yourself, give hope to yourself, give joy to yourself, speak to yourself, preach to yourself, lay hands on yourself, bless yourself. You got to learn how to encourage yourself in the Lord, your God. Somebody lift your hands and say, hey.
Jesus is my Easter bunny. My Easter bunny. Jesus is my Easter bunny. Jesus is my Easter bunny. Jesus is my Easter bunny. Jesus is. Jesus is.
Well, alrighty. Shalom, what's going on? What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody's doing well. It's your brother Priest Daniel, representing Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV. What's going on? Give me a second, y'all. Let me jump into this clubhouse. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Can't neglect the brothers and sisters on Clubhouse. So let me jump in real quick. Hey, Zakaria, you can, Officer Zakaria, you can go on mute now. Appreciate you, bro. I do appreciate it. Officer Zakaria, you go on mute now. I appreciate you. I definitely do appreciate you. I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. And I do so, of course, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Once again, it's your brother, Priest Dan, representing Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV. Welcome to another one of our Sabbath services every Saturday, Most High allow, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come here every Saturday to bring you, brothers and sisters, information and teachings. I appreciate everybody joining me. Just let me just run down the list real quick, of course. Shout out to everybody that's watching on Maccabees TV, on YouTube. Shout out to brothers and sisters that are watching on the Lions of Israel class page on YouTube. Shout out to my good brother Nasiah from Nasiah TV, who's allowing me to use his platform to broadcast directly into people's homes via Roku, Apple TV, etc., etc. Again, I can't say it enough, and I'll say it every week. We appreciate Brother Nasiah for allowing us to do that. If you guys are in the building and you're listening to the sound of my voice, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video and share the video to your social media. Somebody may want to get the certification at some point in the future. Somebody may not be aware that we're live. We know that YouTube suppresses smaller channels, usually channels that are below 500,000 subscribers. YouTube really doesn't give too much of a daggone about any of them. You know what I'm saying? Most channels are shadow banned nowadays, especially channels that disseminate real information. And so the only way that these videos can be disseminated and actually enter the algorithm is if we as a community, as a people, right, a nation, should I say, if we share videos. I do the same when I watch other brothers' videos and other platforms. I hit the like button. I share. I watch different camps, different brothers, and I, help to try to do my little part to try to trigger their algorithm as well, because I want their message to get out as much as I want mine, because our messages are pretty much the same. We're trying to reach our people and teach our people the truth. You know what I'm saying? Peradventure, the Most High's elect can hear this word, and we can get the hell up out of here, because that's what's holding us back. Shout out to everybody that's listening on Clubhouse. You guys know the drill. If at any point I go into the matrix, that's why we provide brothers and sisters the link at the top of the room. Of course, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know, my lessons 9 out of 10 times are PowerPoint lessons. So it'll be the same today. I'm going to be showing you, brothers and sisters, a lot of information, and we're going to be reviewing a chapter that I'm sure many of you brothers and sisters have heard broken down many times before. But I like going into it, so we're going to go into it again. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7. So if at any time you brothers and sisters on Clubhouse want to follow along with the lesson, you guys can hit the link at the top of the room, and we can go ahead and you can come on over and join us on YouTube, and you guys can actually see the visual lessons as I'm going to be showing slides. I'm going to be showing historical books, and of course, I'm going to show a couple of videos as well. So let's go ahead, without further ado, let's go ahead and share the screen and make sure that you brothers and sisters can see the screen, and we're going to get started with our presentation without further ado, because that's the real reason why you guys are here. 1 second, share my screen. So just to be on the safe side, I'll go ahead and share the entire screen. And let me go ahead and turn the banner off. We're going to talk about the banner at the end of the class. We're going to turn it off for now, and we're going to come on over to our PowerPoint, and we're going to get started. All right. So one of the reasons why I'm deciding over the next couple of weeks to go a little bit into prophecy is because prophecy provides us with a timeline. Over the last, let's say 20 to 30 years, there have been people that have risen up and given us dates as to when Christ was coming. And it's also happened in the Israelite community as well, if we're being fully transparent, right? Everybody knows that 2000 was a big thing where people were saying that Christ was going to come into 2000, come by 2000. Some brothers said before the year 2000, right? And brothers actually were using precepts and scriptures to prove this. Not just the Israelites, but Christians were doing it too. They were the main ones that were pushing that whole doctrine, and it kind of seeped into the Israelite community to a degree as well. Then, after 2000 came and passed, you had a wave of brothers that left the truth behind that. That's a fact, right? Nothing is really supposed to shake your faith, but, they use that as a reason or an excuse to leave the truth. It is what it is, right? Then in 2012, you had the 2012 prophecy, right? That was mainly being pushed by the Christians. I think the Israelites learned their lesson, and they wasn't pushing that whole doctrine of 2012, right? Of course, 2012 came and it went, and Yahushua, Jesus Christ, did not return, and we still find ourselves subjugated under the rule of our enemies, Esau. Then in 2019, you had the whole thing about the 400-year prophecy. Now we were going to be delivered because 400 years had passed, so forth and so on. And that came and went, right? Most of those things, there was no foresight in there, because there's no such thing really as a 400-year prophecy if you know history, because you know that slave ships were coming to the Americas before 1619. The slave trade was in effect before 1619. 1619 is just a generic date that we were given, and then brothers added 400 years to 2019 and said, 400 years prophecy fulfilled. That is not what we're supposed to do. And that was Israelites pushing that one. That's not what we're supposed to do. Our Lord Yahushua says, no man knows the day nor the hour. Only the Most High, not the angels, not Yahushua, not man, not any prophet. No man knows the day nor the hour at all. Right? I'm just talking for a minute. We're going to get into the PowerPoint. I know y'all like, all right, shut up and get into the lesson in a minute. We're just talking for now. So the question then should arise, then how do we measure time? How do we measure things? Right? Let me just come out of the PowerPoint for a second. Right? And let's go to, just do a quick Google search and let me show you, brothers and sisters, something, right? Oops, sorry. I want to find a okay. Well, let's do it this way real quick. Let's do it this way. We got time, so let's do it this way. Your Bible is called a canon. Does everybody see that? You guys are looking at this, the search I did. Your Bible is called a canon, right? How many of you guys know that? It's called a canon, right? That word canon, when you guys look it up, it means to measure. It's a unit of measurement, to measure. That's one of the meanings of it, right? It means to measure, right? It also means law, rules, principles, criteria by which something is judged. That is the definition of canon. Don't get it mistaken for canon, C-A-N-N-O-N, which is a weapon, not that. This is canon, C-A-N-O-N, right? Some dictionaries will tell you the word canon means to measure. That's what it means, okay? So how do we measure a man or a woman according to the Bible? We measure a man or a woman according to the Bible, according to our laws. We measure up, right? The Bible says, examine yourself whether you're in the faith. So if you want to know if you are measuring up to the standard of a man or a woman that the Most High wants you to be, you measure yourself against God's laws, his rules, his principles, the criteria which God put in place. That's how you judge yourself, whether you measure up to the standard that God set up or not. That's your canon. That's why your Bible is called a canon, right? And as I told you, the word canon also means to measure. I'm not really going to look for it now, but there's a lot of dictionaries that tell you that as well. The reason, we're going to come back to the PowerPoint now. The reason why I went into that is because how do you measure time? Not only do you measure yourself against the law, statutes, and commandments, how do you measure time? That's the point I wanted to get to. You measure time by your canon. Not by the date that's on the calendar. No, not because it's 2023. So you're going to do some type of mathematical formula and say God is going to send his son in 2025 or 2027 or 2030. That's not how you measure time. You measure time by your canon, which is your Bible. And within your Bible, God gives you prophecy. So if you want to know where you are in relation to time, as far as the Most High God sending his son, you have to measure the time that you're living in and the events that you see going on around you and measure that against prophecy. And that's how you know where you are. It's not an exact science, meaning it's not going to tell you the exact date, but you know when you're getting close by that which you see happening around you. That which already has passed, you can go in the Bible and see these things, and also that which is happening now. And then you can see, well, you know what? There's only but so many things left to be fulfilled. And that's the time that we find ourselves in right now. Much prophecy has already come and been fulfilled. Much prophecy is being fulfilled as we speak. We're literally seeing it with our eyes. We're literally seeing the beginning of the downfall of our enemies. That's prophecy. We're literally seeing the dry bones coming together. That's Israel. That's Ezekiel 37 and Revelation 11. We're literally seeing that, right? We're seeing great fear fall upon these nations now that they see the Israelites coming together. They got all types of problems with us, specifically the one West camps. but all types of problems with us. We're witnessing prophecy being fulfilled, and there's more to come. But we know where we are in the timeline based on prophecy. Does everybody understand? So I love prophecy. That's why I'm going over this today. I don't know about you, but I love prophecy because prophecy gives me hope. I realize that we're not going to be here forever. And as I see things beginning to happen, that's why I read a lot. I study and read a lot. Because as I begin to start to see things happening, I know that I'm progressing closer and closer on the timeline to the second coming of Yahushua. It's only but so much longer. It's only but so much longer. Now, we can't put a time on it, but we know that we're not at the beginning. We know that we're in the end based upon prophecy. And one of my favorite chapters to go over, which is one of the favorite chapters of my elders before me, was Daniel chapter 7, because it lays it all out for you. It lays it all out. You can follow the timeline of prophecy right in Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 8, and I believe a portion of Daniel chapter 9 as well. One of my favorite books in the Bible, and slightly easier to comprehend and understand than the prophecies that are similar to it in Revelation. Okay, so let's go through Daniel chapter 7. I'm not in a rush to get through all this stuff today, brothers and sisters. What I don't finish today, I will finish next week if the Most High grants me life. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go through this. We're going to take our time. You brothers and sisters, if you're not familiar with the breakdown, it's your first time. You brothers and sisters can take notes. If you brothers and sisters are familiar with the breakdown, repetition is everything. Repetition is everything. It's good to hear it again until you are able to come and teach it, just like you're hearing it. Sometimes you hear things and it resonates with you because you heard it before, but it becomes different when you see it and when you can teach it yourself. If there's nobody else around to teach it, you can go into it and you can teach it. Now you own it. That's why we repeat ourselves. That's why we go over scriptures over and over again until you own it. And by owning it, meaning you could teach it in the absence of anybody else around, you can teach it. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into it. That was my speech. That was my soliloquy. It was long. I know y'all was like, man, by now you could have been halfway through. I probably could have, but I'm not in a rush. All right. Again, for you brothers and sisters on Clubhouse, if you guys want to see the PowerPoint lesson, you guys can click the link at the top of the room and come on over. All right. This is going to be a slow grind, y'all. It's going to be a slow. We're going to go through some slides before we even start getting to the breakdown. It's going to be a slow grind, but that's okay. We got time, right? And I need to be done by 12 o'clock so my brothers from the God First Gang can do their thing on a moralist story. All right, so we're going through Daniel chapter 7. The name of the PowerPoint is Daniel chapter 7, the end of the matter. The end of the matter. Let's go to the next slide. Why did I name it Daniel chapter 7, the end of the matter? Because we're going to go to the end of the chapter. I told you, Daniel chapter 7 is a great measuring stick for where we are in the timeline of prophecy and how close we are to the end. So let's go to the end of the chapter first, and then we'll work our way back to the beginning. This is the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 27. It says, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. So the kingdom is talking about the kingdom of heaven. Dominion is talking about rulership. And the greatness of the kingdom, meaning everything under heaven, everything, all the glory, all the majesty, all the promises that were promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. We know, pursuant to Psalms 148 and 14, the saints are the Israelites. So the kingdom, the greatness of the kingdom, the dominion under the whole heaven shall be given to the Israelites. That's what it's saying. Whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, meaning there are no other great kingdoms that will rise up after this kingdom rises up. That's the same everlasting life that Christ, Yahushua, was talking about in John 3:16. Whosoever believeth on him shall obtain everlasting life, because you got to go through Christ. Christ is the door, Yahushua. It is through his sacrifice and him sacrificing himself for us that we can be reconciled and redeemed back to the Father. Because the Most High wasn't dealing with us. As far as the Most High was concerned, we were wicked and polluted. We had went against that first covenant the Most High made with us, did all types of abominable things. Much of those things that we did, there was no sacrifice. There was no Levitical priest that could do anything for you based on the sins that we all committed, our forefathers committed back then, and many of us committed before we came into the truth. Idolatry, adultery, and everything else. which there's no repentance for. Some of us were witches, 5%ers, Egyptologists, and all that stuff. No repentance for none of that stuff. All that stuff requires death. But if you believe on Yahweh Shai and the sacrifice he made, now you can receive everlasting life. That's the everlasting life. What everlasting life? What we're reading right here. The kingdom, the dominion, which is the rulership, the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven is going to be given to you if you believe in Yahweh Shai. And that kingdom is going to be everlasting. No other kingdom is going to rise up after it. And all dominions shall serve and obey him, because Yahweh Shai is going to be King of Kings. And the Bible goes on to say we are going to be joint heirs with him. So we're also going to be ruling as well with Yahweh Shai. That's why we read in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 2, Yahweh Shai, Christ putting crowns on other men's heads. They're going to be ruling. But you know what? Before we get to that, we got to suffer first. He suffered, we got to suffer. And that's what we're going through right now. The persecution, the suffering, the tribulation that we're going through in our personal lives, in all different facets that they come, and in this truth, being hated for believing what we believe. It's all walks hand in hand. Okay? Verse 28. Hitherto was the end of the matter. So Daniel is letting you know that there's nothing after this. The kingdom, that kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom, and that's the end of the matter. It's over with. Israel is going to rule forever, being joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, and all the other nations are going to serve and obey him and us. That's the end of the matter. That's it. Here's the thing, though. There's a culmination of things that have to happen before we get to this climax. There's a culmination of things that have to happen in prophecy before we get here. And that's the timeline I was talking about. So if you want to know how soon we get here, you have to know everything that's going to happen before we get here. That's how you measure time. Remember, the Most High told the prophet Ezra in the Apocrypha in 2nd Ezra to measure the time. How was Ezra going to measure the time? Was he going to pull out a measuring stick? Was he going to pull out a ruler? How do you measure time? You measure time against the canon, which is the Bible, prophecy. Hopefully everybody understands. I'm talking to smart people, so I ain't got to keep repeating myself. That icon, by the way, is from a book that I have. That's Daniel the prophet, right? You can clearly see he's a black man with an afro. That is from a book I have called The Annunciation Cathedral of the Moscow Kremlin. If you go on Amazon and try to get that book, it probably costs you a cool $100 or more. I got this many, many years ago for like $30, but that was many, many years ago. But this is just proof that even 500, 600, 700 years ago, people knew that the Israelites were black, because the Christian apologists say that black Israelites make everybody black. Well, no, unless somebody that's listening right now is 500, 600, 700 years old. If you are, email me and tell me your secret, because that's crazy. But if not, if nobody's that old, then none of us was around as quote unquote black Israelites to create black icons like these. So who made these? Who knew that these people were black hundreds of years ago? See? So we don't have to make anything up. All we have to do is demonstrate. That's why I teach you, brothers and sisters, demonstration beats conversations. One thing to talk and say a whole bunch of stuff. It's another thing to demonstrate. I'm always asked, why don't you do more debates? Why don't you debate on Clubhouse? Because all people are doing on Clubhouse is talking. There's nothing wrong with that. But by now, if you know anything about me, you know I like to demonstrate. So that's not necessarily my lane 100%. I can do it, but that's not my lane 100%. My lane is to put it in your face so you can see it. So you know I didn't make it up, because that's what people want people to think. Oh, they just make stuff up. No, we don't have to do that. Okay, let's move on. This is the book of Revelation chapter 2, verses 26 and 27, just to buffer the point. It says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my words unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So that's what I was saying before. Christ is going to receive the rulership and the dominion. And guess what? Those that overcome, Christ is going to give them rulership and dominion over the other nations as well. That's the conclusion of the matter. That's the point that we're all trying to get to. But guess what? Before we get to that point, what does it say? Verse 26, and he that overcometh. So we have to overcome the world first. We've overcome the world to a degree, in a sense, by even coming into this truth. By even acknowledging that we're Israelites, we have overcome the world to a degree. But we really haven't overcome until Yahweh Shah comes and delivers us and puts those crowns on our head. Because at any point, if we don't stay diligent, if we don't stay focused, if we don't study, if we're not humble, at any point, you could fall out this truth. This truth, the world is littered with people that at one time believed as we do, and now they don't because they didn't have no faith. And they didn't endure. And the cares of the world done pulled them out. So don't get it twisted. There's scriptures that speak about us having overcome being in Yahweh Shah. That's to a degree. But you really haven't fully overcome until Christ come and deliver you, because at any point you could fall out. And there's examples of that all through the scriptures. Don't be that guy. Don't be that sister. All right, let's move on. What are literary devices and why does it matter? Like, brother, what are you talking about? We're supposed to be going over Daniel 7. What are you talking about? Why are we talking about literary devices? You cut English class in high school so you didn't have to hear this stuff, right? Now you come to the Sabbath class ready to get breakdowns and stuff like that. And here I am talking about literary devices. Like, what the heck is going on, right? Somebody said, what the hell is going on? I remember when I was a young man coming up in the school, that was the spirit I had. The elders be up there talking sometimes. I'm like, yo, why is he taking so long just to get to the breakdown? And then why we keep going over the same breakdowns? I had that same impatient spirit, but there's an art to it now that I'm fully grown in the spirit and the truth. I understand why they did. That's why I do it. I'm going to torture y'all the same way. We're going to get to it, but we have to understand some stuff first. I'm going to tell you why I'm going through this, because at some point, you're going to be confronted with this type of information, these type of questions. You have to know how to speak to the questions that are going to be asked of you. The Bible, that as we have it today, I'm talking to English-speaking people for the most part in this room, right? The Bible as we have it today is written in the English language. We also have a Spanish language Bible. We also have the Bible in Haitian Creole and other languages, but I'm speaking to English-speaking people. The Bible is in English, right? The people that put the Bible together, the translators, they used, well, first of all, the authors, the people that actually wrote the Bible in their own tongue, in their own way, they spoke colloquially, and they used literary devices that were available to them, like idioms. They use these in the Bible. These are utilized. A literary device is an idiom. Idioms are all through the Bible. Did y'all know that? Allegories in the Bible. That's Galatians chapter 4. Paul said, which things are an allegory? Allegories are literary devices. You have to recognize them in the Bible because it doesn't always tell you it's a literary device, but you need to know it when you see it. So we got to talk about this before we get into the breakdown. What is a literary device and why does it matter? Why does it matter with Daniel chapter 7? Because Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 8, Revelation, I ain't even going to give you chapters, Revelation, Genesis chapter 2, Genesis chapter 3, all employ literary devices. Genesis 49, literary devices. Did you guys know that? What literary device is employed in a lot of these chapters? Anthropomorphism. That's a new word for a lot of y'all. Anthropomorphism. Now, the brothers and sisters that have been in my academy, this is a review because we went over this when we went over Revelation. I did the same exercise with them, but this is not the academy. So some of you guys have never heard this, so I got to go over it with you too. Those chapters that I mentioned employ anthropomorphism. You got to know what that is to be able to speak to it, because these are the stupid questions the conscious community is going to ask you. Atheists are going to ask you, and sometimes even sincere people that just want to know about the Bible but have certain reservations about some stuff in the Bible, they're going to ask you these questions. They're going to ask you about anthropomorphism, and you won't know because you never heard the word. So I have to teach it to you. So what are literary devices and why does it matter? Well, it matters because the Bible employs literary devices like many of these. Literary devices are vivid, descriptive language that appeals to the reader's five senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. By the way, just so you guys know, the Hebrew language is a concrete language and it appeals to the five senses as well. English, Spanish, French, German, Russian, these languages are abstract. They do not appeal to the five senses at all. More on that another time. So what the English Bible does is it uses literary devices to appeal to your senses. Since the English language is abstract, it employs literary devices to appeal to your five senses and makes them feel as though they are experiencing a moment in the story with the characters, right? So one of the literary devices that is utilized in the Bible is anthropomorphism. Why am I going through this? Because Daniel chapter 7 is nothing but anthropomorphism. That's what it is. I'm going to show you. Let's go to the next slide. Is this proof the Bible is fiction? You got your man Young Pharaoh said, well, that being said, because these guys, Pharaoh Seti, Sonetta, Brother Polite, Garfield, Reggie, all these guys, they teach the Bible is fiction because they don't understand the literary devices that the Bible employs. They don't get it. They don't get it. The Bible speaks about Leviathan. The Bible speaks about a dragon in Revelation 12, a dragon of all things, right? Cherubs, satyrs, cockatrices, giants, behemoth, angels, a quote-unquote talking snake. Y'all always hear that one, right? Everybody loves that one. A talking snake. That's the first place people run when they try to say the Bible is not real. They run to the book of Genesis chapter 3. Look, the snake is talking. It can't be real. And brothers and sisters be, not you guys, but a lot of brothers and sisters be fumbling. You don't know what to say. You give them these long explanations when it's really easy. It's one word. It's called anthropomorphism. That's what it is. That's what it is. Don't worry, I'm going to help you out. Let's go to the next slide. So what is anthropomorphism? What is that? What is it? Well, let's watch this video and have our good brother let you know what anthropomorphism is.
All right, so today's video, we're going to talk about anthropomorphism in the Bible. Let's get into it right here on Keeping It in Context. All right, so what is anthropomorphism? Anthropomorphism, by definition, is the attribution of human characteristics or behaviors to an animal, an object, or a deity.
Stop. Let's go back. What is anthropomorphism? I told y'all we're going to take our time. It's all going to make sense, and you guys will understand why I'm slow walking this thing. What is anthropomorphism, and why is it important if we're supposed to be going over Daniel chapter 7? Anthropomorphism is the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to an animal, object, or deity. Let me give you guys some examples of anthropomorphism we read all the time in the Bible. The Bible refers to Christ as the Lion of Judah. Is Christ really like a literal lion that you find in Africa somewhere? No, that is anthropomorphism. Judah is a lion's whelp. It's Genesis 49. Is Judah literally a lion's whelp? No, that's anthropomorphism, using animals to convey a message. It's a literary device. As simple as that. Benjamin is called a wolf. Naphtali is called a hind let loose. Nebuchadnezzar is called a lion in a thicket. Israel is called what? The lost sheep. Are we actually sheep? Are we actually sheep? Not literally, but are people physically, excuse me, Salaki, let me go back again. Are we literally sheep? No. But are we spiritually sheep? Do we have the characteristics of a sheep? You ever seen a sheep? A sheep can be standing in line, right? And it'll watch the sheep before it get devoured by the wolf, and it won't run. It'll stand right there and wait its turn to be devoured by the wolf. That's our people. We know how our enemies treat us, right? Esau, Moab, Ammon, whatever. And the more these nations oppress us is the more that our people have Stockholm syndrome, is the more we support them, right? I've seen videos. I have videos. I played them in the academy. I didn't really put it in here, where black people, there was a video I played, right, where it was in Washington, D.C. It was at like one of these little bodega type stores, right? and you had a brother that came in the store. It was a whole bunch of black people in the store. Obviously, this is a black neighborhood, right? And you had one particular brother that came in there that did not like the service that he was receiving from this, I believe it was a Korean dude, right? The Korean dude came from behind the glass thing, came outside and threatened to beat the hell out of the black brother while all the other black people are watching for no reason, right? He was disrespectful to begin with. The brother was actually in the right. But he was so bold in our neighborhood, in our community. He was so bold by himself, nobody else in the store but him and black people. And the black people moved aside and allowed him to walk up on another black man and threaten to beat his behind. And then the black man walked out the store. When he walked out the store, do you think the other black folks walked out with him after seeing their brother being disrespected? Nope. They got back online, right? And continued to buy. And guess what? When the Korean guy went back around behind the glass door, I'm sorry some children are listening, but he basically said, I was going to beat his ASS and he won't be the first one. Did y'all hear what I said? I got the video. He said, I was going to beat his ASS and he wouldn't be the first. Meaning our people are sheep. Our people know that this guy right here will come from behind the glass and fight our people, and they will still go to the store and support him with sheep. That's anthropomorphism. Does everybody get it? Okay, enough talking. Sorry, let's go.
Is the attribution of human characteristics or behaviors to an animal, an object, or a deity. Believe it or not, many TV shows, movies, advertising commercials, branding companies use anthropomorphism all the time. They use non-human characters that look and act like human beings. Disney animal characters like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy.
That's anthropomorphism. These animals have human characteristics. It's a literary device. Guess what? Daniel 7 does that too. Now you guys, it should be starting to click for you because we're reading about animals, but these animals are actually kingdoms. If you read Daniel 7, you should know that. That's anthropomorphism. So it's not literally dragons. It's not literally a talking snake. These are men that are attributed attributes of an animal based on their behavior. That's your Genesis 3 with the serpent. It wasn't a literal serpent. It was a man with serpent type attributes. That's called anthropomorphism. You have to go all over the Bible to explain this. It's a literary device. And the Bible is literature. It's really that simple. Let's keep going.
Are all examples of anthropomorphic characters. The movie Cars with characters such as Lightning McQueen and Mater.
So they don't just do it with animals. They do it with inanimate objects like cars too. Right? Let's go.
Simba, Mufasa, Scar, and all the other talking animals from The Lion King are all examples of anthropomorphic characters. Tony the tiger, who lets everybody know that Frosted Flakes are great, is a perfect example. Geico with the talking lizard is an anthropomorphic character that the company uses. Even Chester the cheetah, who is a smooth-talking, fashionable, anthropomorphic mascot for the Cheetos brand. Anthropomorphism is used pretty much in everything, really. It's used in writings, it's used in mythology, and it's even used in religion. The word anthropomorphism comes from two Greek words, anthropos, which means man or human, and morphe, which means form. In theological terms, and more specifically in Judaism and Christianity.
So that's enough. I ain't got to play the whole video because we're trying to get to the breakdown, I know. But now I did this because I want you guys to recognize it when you see it in the Bible. When somebody asks you about why does the Bible talk about dragons, not literally a dragon? Why does it talk about these different things? You know what I'm saying? Satyrs and cockatrices, which is another serpent, and all these things. It's not literal. It's anthropomorphism. That's all it is. It's a literary device. If you can't, I'm not talking about my brothers and sisters that's listening to me. I'm talking about the person that you're going to explain this to. If they can't get it, it's because they don't want to get it, or because the Most High God just blinded their eyes. It's really this simple. Really. The Christians believe. Wait, somebody on Clubhouse said something? Yeah, just real quick. I don't think they can hear you on YouTube, to be honest, bro. Hold on. I didn't prepare for you to, come off mute. I don't think they can hear you on YouTube. Say that again. McGunn, say it again. McGunn, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, just a quick question. So another word for that is also personification, correct?
Yeah, but there is a slight difference between personification and anthropomorphism. Yeah, they're very similar, but they're slightly different. Personification is only inanimate objects, only. Anthropomorphism does it with both. Does that make sense?
Come.
Okay, all praises. Come. All right. So, once again, that's what anthropomorphism is. So, it helps you explain the reason why I did this, even though we're going through Daniel chapter 7, right? The reason why I went over all this stuff before I even got into the breakdown of Daniel chapter 7, this helps you explain other parts of the Bible. This helps you explain Genesis chapter 3 when you speak about the serpent. Now you guys understand what that's talking. You always knew, but now you don't have to go get 100 precepts to prove something to somebody. Now you have added a word to your arsenal. Hey, that's just utilizing a literary device called anthropomorphism. That's all. It's attributing the attributes of a man to an animal, and it's employing the use of our five senses to make it more visual for the person that's listening. It's a literary device. It's not literally a talking snake. It's not literally a talking serpent. It's not literally a dragon with 7 heads. It's not literally that. It's just anthropomorphism, applying human characteristics to a particular animal or what have you. It's a literary device used so that the reader can better understand what's being conveyed through their 5 senses. That's all it is. All right. One of these days I'll do a lesson. I don't know if it's really appropriate for the Sabbath per se, but maybe it is, just, because I get more people here than I would obviously in the academy. I'll do a whole lesson on literary devices in the Bible, because there are a bunch of them and they're all over the place. But you have to come to the Bible with a mind willing to learn. When you come to the Bible with what they call confirmation bias, which means you already have a set pattern or way of thinking, your mind is going to be closed to a lot of the mysteries in the Bible. You have to come to the Bible with an open mind, ready to learn and understand. Become that. Christ said you got to become like a little child. You got to get rid of everything that you knew and become like a little child, man. Right? And drink on that sincere milk. Start with the law, statutes, and commandments. But by the time you graduate to prophecy, you have to have a clean slate so you can understand what the prophets were trying to convey. Right? A lot of symbolic language in the Bible, a lot of figurative language in the Bible, a lot of metaphor, a lot of allegory. There's also anachronisms in the Bible. There's all these different literary devices that are used. And you have to recognize this is where your arguments about contradictions and this is wrong with the Bible and that's wrong with the Bible, it comes in because of the use of literary devices a lot of times. All right. But I don't want to get too bogged down into that conversation. So let's continue on with the PowerPoint. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So now we're finally, people are like, finally, man, it was 45 minutes for him to get to verse 1. I know. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and verse number 1. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions on his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. We got a problem right here in verse number 1 we have to reconcile too. Daniel said, in the first year of Belshazzar. Well, guys, when you look up the king's list of Babylon, as we have on the screen, where's Belshazzar? Where is he? He's not there. Not on this king's list, at least. And on many king's lists that go back many years, he's not on there. So what you guys are going to find out is that that's one of the reasons why people will argue and say the Bible is not real. Because Daniel speaks about Belshazzar, and for many, many, many years, there was no proof that Belshazzar even existed. So people were saying Daniel made that up. The Bible is not real. See, what I'm doing, brothers and sisters, before we get to, because a lot of the breakdown of this chapter, you guys already know. You've heard it before. I'm slow walking y'all into the history, the literary devices, and other things that you may not have heard before I actually get into the breakdowns, which I think a lot of you guys already know. So we have to resolve little stuff like this. Where is Belshazzar? Why is he not on the list of kings? Let's go to the next slide. So Donald Trump said Belshazzar is fake news. It's not real history. That's what he's saying. Right? He didn't literally say that. It's just, I'm being a little creative when I make these PowerPoints. He said it's fake news, right? Okay. Real quick, give me 1 second. I am missing a slide here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I may have to share the video. I may have made a mistake and taken that slide out. So let me go ahead and find it in my folder. Right? Hey, what they say, we build it as we fly. So let me go ahead and find it in my folder. I'll stop sharing for 1 second. Let's see. Let me take my time so I don't go past it and I don't take forever to find it. Because I think it's important. Let me see if I do it this way. There we go. Okay. I don't think yeah. Let me come here. Let me just add it real quick. So you got to build it while y'all fly, man. I'm telling you, you gotta know how to build it while you fly. So let's go ahead and let's get it. I'm gonna start sharing my screen again. So remember what we said, what we heard. We were told that the Bible is not real for a long time because Belshazzar is not on the king's list. So we have to reconcile that. And this stuff is very important. It might seem unimportant to those of you, but a lot of you brothers and sisters are believers. But a lot of people that are not believers, they look for every opportunity to doubt the validity of the Bible. So we have to be able to answer these questions because this might be the difference between somebody coming into the truth or not. Let's go ahead and let's share the screen again. All right. Oops, wrong one. All right, let's get back into the swing of things. Boom, boom, hide. All right. Yeah, CC family, we building while we're flying. And you guys also get to see how much work goes into putting these PowerPoints together every week. It's crazy. Let's go. Pay attention, y'all.
Hi, and welcome to History in Focus. I'm Adam Kavner, here with Gary Webster from Archaeological Diggings magazine. And today we're going to talk about some very interesting things, I believe, Gary. Is that right?
Yep, more rocks, Adam.
More rocks, but rocks with meaning.
These ones are incredible. You've probably heard of Belshazzar.
Belshazzar I've heard of. He came after Nebuchadnezzar.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah. He's mentioned as the next, in the history of Daniel, the story of Daniel. And he's the guy with about the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
The writing came during the big feast they were having.
And then that was the end of it.
That was the end of him at the end, So people said, now wait on, this Belshazzar, we've never heard in history of this guy.
Right, because up to a certain point in history, they never found any archaeological proof of Belshazzar, just the kings that you guys saw on the list, but not him. So what was happening in a lot of archaeological circles, especially amongst people that didn't believe in the Bible, they said the Bible was lying. But the Bible is the go-to book in history, as we're about to find out. Pay attention.
So historians said this is a myth. This is a Bible blunder.
Which is quite an often thing for historians to do, isn't it? Try to disprove the Bible.
It has.
Right. It happened with the Hittites, y'all. There was a time in the 1800s and early 1900s where the archaeologists, the scholars and everything said the Hittites were not real. The Bible lied. Then they uncovered a whole city of the Hittites, and they had to take that back. And there are other examples but that was the most contemporary example that comes to my mind with the Hittites. Guess what? The same thing is happening with Belshazzar. They said it wasn't real. It was fake. The Bible made it up. And then
this guy. And so historians said this is a myth. This is a Bible blunder.
Which is quite an often thing for historians to do, isn't it? Try to disprove the Bible.
It has
through
been.
Saying, yeah.
Over the years, it's happened many times, and each time like this, it seemed to be quite correct, the Bible, that is.
So what proof have we got here that the Bible account is right?
First of all, the Bible says Belshazzar was the last king of the Babylonian Empire.
Yeah.
And historians said, well, hang on, that's not true. It was Nabonidus. You know, and there's lots of writing about him. In fact, this is called the Nabonidus Chronicle and the Nabonidus Cylinder.
Okay, so
did you guys know that you can buy those replicas? How many of you guys know that? There are, if you, I'm not saying, not many people in Israel would want to do this, but I'm letting you guys know, right? There are websites you can go to and you can buy replicas of ancient archaeology. I'm talking about from the Narmer palette, which is when Egypt and when the two kingdoms of Egypt became one under Narmer. You can actually buy the Narmer palette or a replica of it. And it doesn't cost a lot of money, like 50, 60 bucks, right? You can buy the Nabonidus, that Nabonidus stela that he has in his hand right there. You can buy that. You can actually have a copy of the relic for yourself, or at least a simile of it. Only problem is, of course, it's in that ancient language. If you can't read it, then I don't suggest you buy it. But you can buy it if you ever get that deep. All right? Sorry, let's keep going. I'm going to let it play. I know.
And said, well, hang on, that's not true. It was Nabonidus. And there's lots of writing about him. In fact, this is called the Nabonidus Chronicle and the Nabonidus Cylinder.
Okay, so no reference to...
well, hang on. This, when they read these things, they found, hey, now wait a minute. It actually mentions Belshazzar by name in these tablets. Now, but was he the king? That's another question. But then they discovered, yes, he was, because it mentions on one of these tablets that, listen, this fellow was a co-regent with Nabonidus. Nabonidus was off in a place called Tema, and he left his son Belshazzar in charge of the city of Babylon.
Okay. So, did you guys catch that? So Nabonidus is given credit as being the king, but oftentimes he was off someplace else in another city, so he would leave his son in charge, and his son would actually run and govern the day-to-day city of Babylon, the rulership of Babylon. Belshazzar would do that while his father was off doing whatever his father was doing, right? So the book of Daniel is correct. It's correct. He was a co-ruler with his father. The historians give credit to Nabonidus, but Nabonidus allowed his son to co-rule with him. The book of Daniel is correct. And the archaeological record backs it up. See, the Bible is ahead of the archaeology. Don't let nobody fool you. The Bible is ahead of the archaeology. That's why the Bible knew about the Hittites, the Edomites, and this before the archaeology was ever found. And that's the spirit. I was working with the prophets. Watch this. Just like we knew the 12 tribes breakdown before we found the books. Before we had the books, not we, because I wasn't, the elders were around, 60s, 70s, 80s before I came around. But the point is that the Most High gave them a spirit to break the thing down before the books came. And then the books came later. Guess what? The Bible mentions the Hittites, the Edomites, right? Belshazzar and others before the archaeological record confirmed what the Bible was saying, before they found it. I hope everybody sees that. Why am I going through this? This is important to know. This is a stumbling block for a lot of people. You got to be able to explain it.
Which isn't really an uncommon thing in today's standards, for there to be dual rulership over large kingdoms. Babylon was quite a large region.
So historians realized the Bible was actually correct. And so it was even correct when you think Daniel says, Belshazzar, when Daniel told him what the writing on the wall meant, he said, well, you'll be the third ruler in the kingdom. First Nabonidus, then Belshazzar, then Daniel, you see. So that all came together thanks to these sorts of tablets.
There you go. So it's just one more time where the Bible's proved to be true to account. And
absolutely. I guess, it's not myths and legends.
Yeah.
That's Romans 3, verse 3. What does it say? Let the Bible be true and every man a liar. See? Remember, guys, Abraham had faith first, and everything that came, everything that came to him, the promises, everything came after. Faith is the foundation of everything that we're dealing with. Don't let nobody mock you because you have faith. Let God be true. Let the word of God be true and every man a liar, because over and over again throughout history, we have seen time and time again that man winds up being a liar because the Most High is true. His word is true. And the record comes and backs it up, what we teach. But a lot of times it's an exercise of faith, a lot of times where the Most High, wants to test you out, check you out. That's why Abraham is called the father of faith. That's why. Because he's the blueprint. He showed you the blueprint of how you should be. Faith first and everything else will follow. So it is with us believing in Yahweh Shai, that we believe that we are justified through Yahweh Shai. We believe that we have faith in that. That's why I told you Revelations 14 and 12, these are they which keep the commandments and the faith in Christ. We have faith that because Christ died, we are justified through his blood, and we can receive all those promises. We can be amongst those 144,000 if the Most High so chooses. We have faith in that. Why do we have faith in that? Because Yahushua died. So we have that faith that he redeemed us through his blood. It's a key principle in our belief. Don't let nobody shame you, because a lot of times the conscious community wants to shame us for having faith. Well, you guys you believe, you know what I'm saying, but you guys can't prove it. That's why, I know it sounds like a broken record. That's why most of my lessons are PowerPoints, because it's not just us talking. We can demonstrate a great amount of what we teach, but there are some points. There are some points where it's just a matter of faith, right? So you got to build your faith up, because if the Most High got us this far with this much right that we can demonstrate, then I have faith that the rest of what we're being taught is right too. That's just me. And if you're not there, you pray to the Most High that he gives you that faith that Abraham had, right? And many of our other forefathers had. Pray the Most High gives you that faith, right? Let's move on. Okay. So now let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and we're going to pick it up from verse number 2, right? So we already established that Belshazzar was real in verse 1, and that's the time period that Daniel used. Because remember, the Bible doesn't give you dates. That's another thing. Let's talk about that for a second. The Bible doesn't give you dates, right? Because you're going to have people that will ask you about that. What the Bible does do is it gives you names. And because we live in the age of information, now you can go on to Google or whatever site you want to go to. You don't even have to read big books no more, exhaustive books. Google knows everything. So if you want to get the dates, you can extrapolate the dates by the names that are used. And then you can get an idea of what the dates are. So the Bible doesn't literally put the date on the calendar there, but it gives you a name, and now you have a proximity of what the date was. It's all there, right? Daniel chapter 7, verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, right? And really quickly, we don't have to, I'm going to kind of expedite some of these slides. I ain't going to go too deep into the breakdown of some of these slides just for the sake of time. We can always revisit this stuff another time, no big deal. But you will notice, right, and notice the parallel even of the chapter, you guys will notice that there's a very similar parallel to what Daniel is saying in Daniel chapter 7 to what John is saying in Revelation chapter 7. There's a relationship there, right? They're seeing similar things, right? I'm not going to expound too much on that right now. Let's move on. So Daniel said that he saw the four winds of heaven strive upon the great sea. Let's talk about this great sea for a second, right? The Great Sea is actually talking about the Mediterranean Sea, right? The Mediterranean Sea is a term, the Great Sea is used elsewhere in the Bible. You can see it referring to the Mediterranean in Numbers 34, 6 through 7. You guys can see it being referred to in Joshua 1 and 4 and Ezekiel 47 and 10. Give me 1 second, y'all. And this is, see, like I say, we built it while we fly. I fixed this slide earlier and it did not, maybe I didn't save it. It's all good, right? So let's just fix it. Okay. We're all good. Let's come back. Right? So the Great Sea is the Mediterranean, right? What you guys are going to find out why this is important, because guess what? Now the Bible is giving you something else. The Bible is giving you a geographic location where these prophecies would take place. Each one of these kingdoms that was going to rule dominated the Mediterranean Sea. We're going to see it in maps. We're going to see it. They all dominated the Mediterranean region. Why is that important? We'll get to that in upcoming slides, right? So let's go to the next slide. Now, the sea can be twofold, right? The sea primarily is talking about the region, which is the Mediterranean, but also the seas can be talking about people as well, because these beasts are going to rise up out the sea, right? So when you go to Revelation chapter 17, verses 9 through 15, particularly verse 15, you can see that the waters represent people. The waters represent people. So these great beasts were going to rise up from the people, and they were going to go into rulership, right? And the region that they would actually do this in that's relevant to us is the Mediterranean, because that's where a lot of Bible history takes place, around that Mediterranean region. So it's twofold. Okay? All right, let's move on. As I said, much Bible history is on or near the Mediterranean Sea. So what we're looking at right now on the screen, if you're following the PowerPoint, we're looking at one of the first great kingdoms that rose up and ruled over our people. That's the Assyrian kingdom. And if you guys are looking, that's the extent of the Assyrian kingdom at its apex. And you guys will notice, as I mentioned before, that the Assyrian Empire controlled the Mediterranean. You guys see that? I'm not just saying it, you can see it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next kingdom that would rise up after the Assyrian Assyrian Empire would be the Babylonians. What do you guys notice? The Babylonians controlled the Mediterranean Sea. You guys see the map? The Neo-Babylonian Empire, they controlled the Mediterranean Sea. This is relevant to us because Israel is over there. It's over there. You guys see Judah right there. You guys see Samaria right there, right? You guys see that? Yeah, so it's relevant to us. A lot of Bible history takes place in this area. So that's why there's a focus on this area. Daniel is being real specific. Let's go to the next slide. You have the Achaemenid Empire, which is also called the Persian Empire. And they ruled the Mediterranean. And again, you can see us right there, Jerusalem, you see Samaria, so forth and so on. So Daniel is correct. He saw the four winds of heaven strive on the Great Sea being the Mediterranean, is giving you a geographic location where a lot of these empires, right, would wield power. Now, you can see on these maps that these empires extend further east, but these areas are not important to prophecy because Israel is not over here. We're over here by the Mediterranean. And we're the focus of the book. The Hellenistic kingdom, right? The kingdom of the Greeks. They controlled the Mediterranean. The Roman Empire. This map is from the 1st century of the Roman Empire. They controlled the Mediterranean. Do you guys see that? You see that, right? So the Bible is right. Again, this is where these four kingdoms would rise up and come into power. They wield great power in this particular area specifically. They wield power in other areas too. Don't get it twisted. But the Mediterranean is being mentioned, the Great Sea is being mentioned because it's relevant to us. Where we were and where we would be scattered throughout the Mediterranean region, where a lot of your 7 churches would be in that area. See, the Most High is ahead of us on the timeline. He already knew where we was going to be scattered. On or near the Mediterranean. From Greece right on down into Israel, right on down into Egypt, all the places we were scattered, very close on or near the Mediterranean. Most High saw all of that in the spirit and showed it to Daniel. So again, Daniel chapter 7, verse 3. And the 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The sea can be the people, as we saw in Revelation chapter 17, because these beasts are coming up. They're not literally coming out the Mediterranean Sea. So the sea is the people, but it's also people that will be in these regions. They would wield great power in these regions because these regions are relevant to Israelites. And we are the primary focus of the Bible. Everybody good? Okay. So now let's move on. And why are we going through all this? We're going through all this because this is the timeline of prophecy. This is going to lead us to our kingdom that's prophesied in verses 27 and 28. That's what we want to get, right? That's what we all want to get. And we all want to know, how far away are we, right? Y'all seen that movie that came out in the early 2000s, I believe? Are we there yet? You ever drove a long distance and somebody keeps asking you, how much longer, how much further? Are we there yet? That's this journey, and it's true. Are we there yet? We're not there yet? Okay, how much further? How much longer? We all want to know. I do. So every time I need to know that, I got to come and measure the time in the canon, the Bible, prophecies. I have to come and look it up. So I can see, okay, I see this happening. I see this happening. This hasn't happened yet. But these 10 things happen, but these 5 things didn't happen. So we're a little more than halfway there, or whatever your formula is. That's the point. That's how you tell how close we are to verses 27 and 28, not with a date on the calendar. Right? Let's move on. Verse number 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Here's your anthropomorphism. Was the Babylonian Empire literally a lion with eagle's wings? No, it's attributing human characteristics to animals. But these are talking about kingdoms that would rise on the earth, right? The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. At the time Daniel is writing this, the average person wouldn't know what he's talking about. But in this day and age, in the age of information in 2023, we have the benefit of retrospect, right? To be able to look back. And we can look back at history and we can see that the Assyrian Empire carried or anthropomorphized animals with eagle's wings. Let's go back a couple of slides real quick. Just want to show you guys something. So this is an image right here of the Assyrian winged lion. This is from a relief in Assyria. And you guys can see the lion right here. And right going along the bottom of the body right here, brothers and sisters, those are wings. You guys see that? The Babylonians had a winged lion too. It's the Babylonian winged lion as well. Okay? So when you come here to verse number 4, you read about the lion having eagle's wings. That's talking about the Assyro or the Assyrian Babylonian Empire. The Babylonian Empire would eventually overthrow the Assyrian Empire. That's what it's talking about, right? And you guys can see a little bit more of that here, right? We have the Assyrian griffin at the Bristol Museum, right? And you have the Babylon lion, and this is at the Pergamon Museum. That name Pergamon should be familiar to you, brothers and sisters, because you see it in the book of Revelation among the 7 churches. So at one point or another, we would be scattered here too. Let's keep going. Now, here's what's interesting, right? We believe in, or at least I teach, and most brothers I know teach as well, the duality of prophecy, meaning you can go into the Old Testament and read amongst the prophets, and there's a certain level or aspect of their prophecy that was contemporary to their time, meaning it would happen during their time, or it would happen not too long after their time, within a certain amount of time. You see that in the Old Testament. You see that in Isaiah, Jeremiah, all the prophets, you see that also, right? But there is a duality to prophecy, because some of the things that were prophesied against these ancient kingdoms, when you understand Bible prophecy, wasn't talking about the ancient kingdoms. Some of those things are fulfilled in America today, because America has taken all the customs of the ancient kingdoms and rolled them up into one, and is utilizing symbolism and all types of different customs from all the ancient nations, their pagan symbols and everything. They're doing that. That's why this place is called Babylon the Great, right? Here's an example. So right here, you see the Assyrian winged griffin, right? Where's this at? If you guys are looking, if you're looking on the phone, your screen may be a little small, so hopefully you guys can see it. If you guys look right here, this is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, right? This is a winged Assyrian griffin, right? Somebody explain to me why they have that symbolism at Hollywood and Highlands in the mall. There it is right there. Do you guys see it? The Assyrian, it's an Assyrian arch. And look at all the Assyrian symbolism on this arch, including the winged griffin right here. Why? What does that have to do with America? Why all the Egyptian symbolism on the back of the dollar bill? Because America is fulfilling prophecy in the Old Testament that It may say Assyria, it may say Babylon, it may say Egypt, but some of those prophecies apply to here because America is keeping all those customs. It's keeping these customs, right? Here's a closer look. You guys see it? The Assyrian winged griffin right there. And then this right here is the Assyrian genie right here. Assyrian symbolism in the midst of a mall in Hollywood. This is Hollywood and Highlands. You guys see this, the mall right there. You got the Guest store. You got all these different stores right here. People are coming shopping. And you see the Babylonian lions right here. If you're looking, you see the Babylonian lions with the wings right there. Do you guys see it? See it? And you have, I can't really tell what that is, but you could just tell by the wings. That's another Assyrian symbol right there in between the lions as well. Who decides something like this? Who sits down and says, you know what? We're going to build a mall and we're going to put an ark in them. We're supposed to be living in America. Why does America uphold so much symbolism from ancient societies? Why don't they create their own symbolism? Wouldn't you create your own symbolism to represent your country? But everywhere you go, any downtown city you go to, if you go to City Hall, you're going to see ancient pagan, ancient Roman statues, Roman symbolism on your city halls and your courthouses. And you're going to see this in every city replete, right? Egyptian symbolism all over the place, all over New York. And downtown Los Angeles, Assyrian symbolism right downtown. You going shopping, walking in and out of this place and don't know what the hell you're looking at. You're looking at symbolism to let you know America is Assyria all over again. Modern day Assyria, modern day Egypt, modern day Babylon, modern day Greece, modern day Rome, all over again. And that's confusion. That's why it's called Babylon the Great. Let's move on. Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. And it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon its feet as a man, right? Because the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar became a world power. Now, what I want you guys to know, and just make a mental note of this, during the time of Nabopolassar, Nebuchadnezzar, Nabonidus, Belshazzar, these kings that ruled over Babylon, this period in history is called the Neo-Babylonian Empire, not to be mistaken with the Babylon that Nimrod had back in Genesis. Because these kingdoms of Babylon and Assyria are ancient. They go all the way back. Daniel is not prophesying about ancient Babylon. He's not prophesying about ancient Assyria. He's prophesying about what's called the Neo-Assyrian Empire and all the kings that ruled over that, and the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Obviously, we didn't give these kingdoms these names, but I guess they were assigned these names so that we know the difference, because you have to make a difference. Because don't think for a second that Babylon just comes into being during the time of Nabopolassar and Nebuchadnezzar. No, Babylon is ancient. Assyria is ancient. But Daniel is talking about contemporary to his time period, a little before him with the Neo-Assyrian Empire, and during his time and after him with the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So it was given that name, I'm going to assume, by historians so that you can make a difference between ancient Assyria and ancient Babylon and the Assyrian Babylon that Daniel is talking about. So those countries are given the name Neo-Babylon, Neo-Assyria. You won't see that when you start talking about the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. You won't see those phrases used, but it's specifically used for the Assyrians and the Babylonians. All right? All right. I wonder if anybody knows what we're employing right here when we show these maps. If you guys don't remember, I went through this when I went through the letters of Paul. This is called cartography. Do you guys see all the different aspects of when people say Israelites are stupid and we don't know nothing? To notice Israelite doctrine and to notice Bible, you have to master many different disciplines. And I don't think people really appreciate you got to master language. I'm talking about knowing English, Greek, some Latin. You got to master cartography. You got to know maps and timelines and charts, right? You got to know history. You got to be able to delineate history, right? You got to know breakdowns, right? And you got to know extra biblical stuff too, extra biblical history as well. And I know I'm missing a whole bunch of other. You have to know English. You know that English class that. No, let me not speak for y'all. Let me speak for myself. English class that I cut in high school every day. I was a king of cutting class. I don't think nobody cut class in high school more than me. I'll put my resume up against anybody. I was the king of cutting class. We had 4th period lunch, 5th period lunch, and 6th period lunch. I was in all 3. I would go sign in, say I'm going to the bathroom, and I'm in the lunchroom. Now I'm talking about skip that. Going to English class. My English teacher was boring as hell. Boring as hell. Dang, now I done picked up the Bible. I gotta now scramble and go back, right? And I gotta study now English and literature and what literary devices are using and all these other stuff. I gotta scramble and go back now that I'm dealing with the Bible. I should have sat my behind there then and I would have known it, right? Same thing with history. People say, "Oh, you be knowing a lot of history." I cut history class in school. What? I was like, "That's white people history." I cut that thing in class, man. My high school teacher's name was Mr. Couchy, right? If you know, for the older folks, if you guys remember them old Dunkin' Donut commercials in the 90s where the guy was like, time to make the donuts, Mr. Couchy looked like that guy. You know, I'm talking to the older folks. That's you young guys. You probably don't remember. You're gonna have to go to YouTube and look that commercial up. But the guy, time to make the donuts, that my history teacher looked just like him. It was so bad, right? You know, kids is ruthless, right? So we be in class when I would a couple of times I would go to class. It was a running joke in school for kids like to come to his classroom door and open the door and yell, "Time to make the donuts," and then slam the door and the whole class be laughing and stuff like that. That was Mr. Couchy. He was boring as hell. I had to skip that. Then I come into the daggone truth and I'm hearing these, you know, we ruled the Byzantine Empire and we did this and we did that. Now all that stuff he was teaching, I had to go back and get it. I didn't care about it when I thought it was white folks' history, but now it's ours. But do you guys see how much work we put into giving you guys this information, how much studying we do to give you brothers and sisters this information in a form that you can digest it because we're demonstrating it. We're not just talking. All right, let's move on. And it said a man's heart was given to it, right? Because the Babylonians possessed great wisdom, so much to the point that they became great, and in them becoming great, they became proud. Just like Babylon, the great America, right? They became great, they became proud, right? And by the way, that word heart, when you look at it in the Hebrew, it's the Hebrew word lab, which means your mind. So the Babylonians were given a man's mind or a great mind. They were given great wisdom in a lot of areas, and that's what made them excel. Remember, right, in the book of Daniel chapter 2, 5 chapters before, Nebuchadnezzar was called the head of gold. He was more prestigious than the kingdom that will follow him, which would be the body of silver. Silver is less than gold. So they were lifted up and they were great, right? And that greatness or that pride would be ultimately what would undo their kingdom eventually, right? But they did have great wisdom, okay? And they also ruled over us and had us in subjection, right? They were making, you read in the Bible, they were making some of our many eunuchs, man. They were literally, you know what I'm saying? Again, I know that there's children listening and stuff like that, so I'm gonna try to be, but they was chopping men's manhood off. Not the whole thing, but the part that makes you reproduce. They would castrate you. That's what they would do. That's wicked as hell. Right? And guess what? Not only were the children of Israel that were wicked in these captivities, the children of Israel that were righteous were in these captivities right along with them. Right? We read about Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys in the book of Daniel chapter 1. They were under subjection under the Babylonians like everybody else. And they were righteous. That's why I don't understand when black people today were like, I'm not under the curses. How are you not under the curses, but Daniel was? Isaiah and Jeremiah were. I don't get it. Like, what makes you so special? That's crazy. Anyway, let's move on. Okay. So the next kingdom that would rise up, so the Babylonians came and they went, right? They became great. And then the next kingdom would rise up after that. This is the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 5. It says, and behold, another beast, a second, like a bear, right? This kingdom will be known as the Mede-Persian Empire. And it was similar to a bear, right? Right? Now, it says, and it raised itself up on one side. So this kingdom is the Medo-Persian Empire. So again, we're going to come back to the maps, right? So if it was two kingdoms, what does it mean that it raised itself up on one side? Let's look at the map on the left-hand side first, right? So what you guys will see is that at the start of the kingdom, the Medes had a kingdom. They had a kingdom, and the Persians had a kingdom. But guess what? Cyrus conquered Media in 550 BC. Cyrus conquered the Medes in 550 BC. That's what it means when it says it raised itself up on one side. It was a dual kingdom, a dual rulership, but eventually the Persians would reign supreme. So when you look at the map on the right-hand side, it literally just became known as the Persian Empire. They absorbed all the other kingdoms that was around before it. Does everybody see that? So the Bible is right. Again, we have the benefit of retrospect, of looking back at history and making sense of what the prophet was trying to show us, because he's literally giving us the timeline to our salvation. Because now we're looking and we're like, okay, that lion with eagle's wings, that was the Assyrian Babylonian Empire. They came and they fell. Okay, that's one down. Now we're here with the bear, which is the Medes and the Persians. Well, the Medes fell, right? And the Persians became a great kingdom, right? So this is where we are in the prophecy as we're reading right now, with the Persian Empire becoming great under Cyrus the Great. Okay, everybody can see that. Let's go to the next slide. It says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, because not only did the Persian Empire defeat the Medes, right? But Cyrus also defeated the country of Lydia right here in 547 BC. And that absorbed into the Persian Empire. And Cyrus overthrew Babylon in 540 BC. And that became also a part of the Persian Empire, right? And then, after Cyrus died, his son Cambyses overthrew Egypt in 525 BC, and the Persians ruled over Egypt as well. That's the 3 ribs in the mouth of it. Again, and I'm going to keep repeating it. It doesn't tell you much right there, but we have the benefit of retrospect in history to go and look and see who did what. So we could see, yes, Cyrus defeated the Medes, he defeated the Babylonians, he defeated the Lydians, but he didn't live to defeat the Egyptians. So his kingdom, he didn't reach his kingdom, or the Persian kingdom did not reach its full apex under Cyrus, because his son Cambyses comes in after and continues the conquest and conquers Egypt, and now you have your full kingdom. Now you have the full extent of your kingdom. So Daniel said there'll be 3 kingdoms, but he didn't say who was going to root up those 3 kingdoms. He didn't say. He just said it would have 3 ribs in its mouth. We have the retrospect in history to go and see that Cyrus was able to do 2, and his son came behind him and did 1. That's your 3. Everybody with me? Okay. It says, and they said unto it, arise and devour much flesh. And that's exactly what the Medes and the Persians did. That's what this is all about. Okay. Now I want you guys to look. I brought in a map a little closer. I want you guys to take a look at the country of Lydia. Do any of those cities ring a bell to you guys? The map on top. Does any of those cities ring a bell to you? Huh? Smyrna, what do we read about that? Revelation. There were Israelites there. Sardis, what do we read about that? Revelation. There's Israelites there. Ephesus, they have their own book, and we read about them in the book of Revelation. So you had Israelites that are in this country that would eventually be, that was originally called Lydia at one time. The Persian Empire absorbed this area. Guess what? We all know the story, so I don't mind going ahead. The Greeks would come and absorb this area eventually too. And the people that are in these areas would eventually start to speak Greek because the Greeks would absorb the area. And that's where we pick up the story of us being there, which is why many of our manuscripts are in Greek. So this is all here. Daniel comprehended much in a few words. It's up to us to go and dig everything up and make it make sense. Right? So everybody sees that. Okay. Let's move on. Verse number 6. And after this I beheld. So we're going down the pathway of prophecy, right? Why are we going down that path, the pathway of prophecy, the prophecy highway? We're trying to find out when in the good graces is the Most High going to send his son. When are we going to get out of here? We done tried to hasten the day and force prophecy by putting dates on the calendar and saying Christ is coming in 2000. No, Christ is coming in 2012. No, Christ is coming in 2019. No, Christ is coming in 2030. We already tried that. It doesn't work. But it doesn't take away the question that we all still want to know. When is it going to happen? So we're moseying down the prophecy highway so that we can get to verse 27 and 28 when it's going to happen. This is how we were always supposed to do it. So the Assyrians came and they went. We can look at history and say, oh, check, one step closer. The Babylonians came and they went, check, one step closer. Right? The Medes came and went, check, one step closer. The Persians came and went, check, one step closer. Oh, we're getting close now. We cook on fire now. Here come the Greeks. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Verse 6, this will now take us from BC times, right? And it will take us into the Roman Empire, which eventually will bring us into AD times, where we are now. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. More anthropomorphism. You got a 4-headed leopard that with 4 wings. That's crazy. Doesn't it sound crazy? So the atheists will be like, see, that's fake. There's no such thing because it's anthropomorphism. That's all. It's talking about men, kingdoms that would rise up. The proof of this is it says dominion is dominion going to be given to a 4-headed leopard with wings? Literally, of course not. It's talking about man. But these particular men had characteristics similar to animals, which is why the Most High allowed them to be compared to certain animals for a reason. For a reason. This is talking about the Greek Empire. Let's move on. So, let's take a look real quick at what we have on the screen here. The scholars say the wings and the leopard represent the speed with which Alexander and the Greeks conquered, right? That could be true. That could be true, right? But it's subjective. It's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It is conjecture. They're saying that, but we can't concretely nail that down and say that's why the Most High compared the Greeks to a leopard. But it certainly sounds feasible because Alexander did conquer in a short time. Alexander was around for 12 years? I'm winging it right now. If I'm a little off, you guys can put it in the chat. But I believe he was around for 12 years. That's it. So he came and went. Poof. Here today, going tomorrow. So that makes sense. But I added another layer from me doing research. What I noticed is that Alexander is always in ancient depictions that we see when he was in war or even in the movie Alexander with Colin Farrell, they always picture Alexander around some daggone leopard skin all the time. Literally, all the time. That's from the movie Alexander. What you guys are going to find out is Alexander, one of his heroes was Dionysus. Dionysus is always pictured with a leopard. That's him right there. Let's go to the next slide. And just in case you didn't believe me, I did a Google search. What do you guys see? All these images of Dionysus. Leopard, 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 leopard all the time. That's not there for nothing. See, this is something we can nail down a little bit more. Alexander was a big worshiper of Dionysus. Dionysus was his hero. And Dionysus is always pictured. I ain't going to say always. Some of the statues don't have the leopard. Some of the statues have him like with a cluster of grapes, whatever. But you guys can see a lot of the symbolism always has him with a leopard. Now, let's come out the PowerPoint for a second because I want to demonstrate what I said just in case somebody says, you made it up. Dionysus was not his hero. Okay, good. Let's come over here. Let's come to the, let's see, where is it? Right here. Alexander's 3 heroes, right? Alexander the Great's 3 heroes. And what's that on top of his head, brothers and sisters? What's that? What's that? It's right there. It's a statue of him. What's that? But let's go down. Let's go down. Hero number 1, Hercules. Let's go down. And hero number 2, who? Dionysus. Dionysus. Now we can come back to the PowerPoint. And we see Dionysus being pictured with a leopard all throughout ancient depictions, all the time. All the time. So I can agree with the scholars. And we definitely, other brothers that I trust with history and information, we can definitely have this conversation maybe on the stage one day on Clubhouse, something like that. We could definitely talk about the understanding of Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. I can certainly agree with the scholars to a degree with what they said about Alexander, moving swiftly as far as conquering and taking over the world in a very short time. I definitely can agree with that, but we also can see literally almost a worship of Dionysus, which is symbolized as a leopard. And I believe that Daniel understood that too. And this is how I demonstrate it. I believe in the Metropolitan Museum, I'm not sure if it's still there, they had a statue of Alexander with a leopard skin hat too. I don't know if it's still there. I know it used to be, but I don't know if it's still there. So these are the things that Daniel is seeing. Okay, enough of that, right? Y'all said, all right, we get it. Move on. Okay, I'll move on. and verse 6 again. And after this, I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had on the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads. So Alexander had 4 primary generals, 4 main generals. Listen to my verbiage. I did not say Alexander had 4 generals. I didn't say that. I said Alexander had 4 primary generals. And that's what the Bible is making reference to. You had Cassander, you had Ptolemy, you had Seleucus, and you have Lysimachus. These are the 4 primary generals. I'm stressing this for a reason because I'm going to show it to you. He had 4 main generals. You guys can see on the right-hand side, 1 Maccabees chapter 1, I believe that's verse 6, that after Alexander, let's just read it, wherefore he called his servants, this is talking about Alexander, right? Let me see something. Let me do a time check real quick. I got time. Let's just read the whole thing. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened that after Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedum, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. That's important too. Let me just help y'all with that. Alexander was not the first king over Greece. He was the first king over a unified Greece, because before that, you had the Greek city-states. A lot of those city-states had their own king. That's number 1. Number 2, a lot of those Greek city-states were ruled by the sons of Japhet. that eventually were pushed out into the islands. The Minoans, the Mycenaeans, which were dark-skinned people, right? After the Greeks got dominion over those people, Alexander becomes the first of a united Greece and the first of his race being an Edomite. The kings that were before him, they ruled their city-states and they were not Edomites. He takes over and boots all those people out, absorbs their kingdom, and becomes the first king over a unified Greece. No more Greek city-states, no more Aegean League or whatever that stuff was called. I'm bringing it. You guys know what I'm talking about. They had the Aegean League and all that stuff like that. You guys can see maps of that stuff, right? Now you have a unified Greece with one king, and this king is an Edomite. It's Alexander. Verse number 2. And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted in his heart and was lifted up. Verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Verse 6, wherefore he called his servants. See, right here, it doesn't give you a number like it does in Daniel. I'm going to explain to you guys why in a second. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. Notice Maccabees does not give you a number, but Daniel does. Why? Why? Is that a Bible contradiction? Is it? Let's take our time. Let's go to the next slide. When you read Daniel chapter 11, it's going over the history of the Syrian wars, right? What are the Syrian wars? The Syrian wars are the wars that were fought between Alexander's two primary generals. Notice I go from 4 to 2. Two primary generals, Ptolemy and Seleucus. You don't read much about Lysimachus in the scriptures at all, or Cassander. Daniel chapter 11 is dealing with these two. These two, the Ptolemy dynasty in Egypt and the Seleucid dynasty that ruled Babylon, right, which eventually was overruled by the Persians, which now is in the hands of the Greeks. And the Levant, where Israel is. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is what I wanted to show you guys. This is what I want to show you guys. Hopefully, those of y'all that's watching, you guys are alert. You're paying attention, because this is important. This is going to answer the question that I said before. Let's go back to it again. Let's look at it one more time. Daniel says the beast, the leopard, which are the Greeks, has 4 wings and 4 heads. Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. These are the 4. When you go to 1 Maccabees, before Alexander died, he doesn't say he parted it amongst 4. It says he parted it amongst his servants. What's the disconnect? How do we reconcile this? History. Pay attention. Look at this map. When Alexander died, he had more than 4 generals. He had Seleucus, which we know. He had Ptolemy, which we know. He had Cassander, which we know. And he had Lysimachus, which we know. That's your 4. But guess what, brothers and sisters? You got this little orange area right here, Antigonus. He had 5. He had 5. Now, and there were others too. There were others too, right? I don't know if you guys could see it, right? But this little area right here under where Cassander has, that's another, right? And there's maps that show others too. But here's the thing. I'm just going to give you guys the history because I didn't put it in this PowerPoint. I have it in other PowerPoints, but I'm trying not to. I don't want this PowerPoint to be 200 slides. So I'm just going to tell you guys the history. You guys can go fact check it for yourself. Be the church at Berea. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Check it for yourself. So look, Alexander, after he died, he parted his kingdom amongst his servants, like Maccabees says, right? These two right here, Antigonus and Seleucus, they went to war. They went to war. They became reservoir dogs after Alexander died. They went to war, right? Ptolemy and Seleucus, they were fighting. That's what Daniel 11 is about. There were wars amongst them. But before Ptolemy and Seleucus fought, Seleucus and Antigonus fought first. Google it. What wound up happening is Seleucus won that war. And so he absorbed all of Antigonus's province. Seleucus had the biggest kingdom out of everybody. So the reconciliation of what Daniel is doing is Daniel is not wrong. Daniel is getting to the point. Ultimately, historically speaking, 4 generals prevailed after Alexander died. 4 of them. Not the others. There were others too. Besides Antigonus, there were others. But after all the infighting took place, it was 4 guys left. So Daniel is not wrong. Daniel is being concise. So Seleucus would absorb all of Antigonus's region that he was given by Alexander. And what you guys are going to find out is a lot of this area that Antigonus ruled, brothers and sisters, this is your New Testament. Look right here. What city is that? That's Colossae. It's Colossae right there. Right? Right there. Antioch. Acts 13. Part of Antigonus's kingdom would eventually be absorbed by Seleucus. These are areas where Israelites were. Now you know why our people were speaking Greek. We were in these areas, and these guys were Hellenizing the hell out of us, fighting each other and Hellenizing the hell out of us at the same time. So Daniel is just being concise. So we moseying on down the prophecy highway. We got to Alexander. He came. He died. Now his kingdom gets split amongst his 4 generals. We're getting closer and closer from moving from BC into AD, which is where we are. We're trying to get to verse 27 and 28. That's what we're trying to get. That's the goal. It's like playing a video game, right? You play a video game, you know what I'm saying, and you start on level 1, right? And you're trying to get to level 100, which is the end of the game. You're trying to get there, but you got to go through all this stuff to get there. That's what we're doing. We're moseying through all these hundreds and even thousands of years of history to get to our goal. We want to know where we at. We done, you know what I'm saying? When you're playing like Candy Crush, there's so many levels and stuff like that. You want to know how many levels you got till you get to the end. That's what we want to know. So we're going down and moseying down the prophecy highway to figure that out. That's how we measure time. That's what the Lord was telling Ezra. Measure thou the time against what? Prophecy. And you can begin to start checking stuff off. Check, 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 check. Everybody got it? All right. So the Greek Empire came and it went, lasted many hundreds of years. And then comes the Roman Empire after them. And the Roman Empire brings you from BC into AD. And if you want to go by what the scholars say, it brings you all the way into the 400s. All the way into the 400s and even beyond. Because then you have, after the Imperial Roman Empire, right? First, Rome was a republic. We're going to get into all that. That's in this PowerPoint. Rome was a republic first. And then Rome went from being a republic to being like an imperial empire where you started having emperors. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to go ahead because I don't have much time. We're going to pick this up next week. Maybe I'm about to see if y'all want me to go into this next week some more. I'm about to find out. But Rome was a republic first. So Rome had consuls. And then eventually Julius Caesar became emperor after Pompey was killed. So they moved from being a republic to being an empire where you had an emperor. But that's not how they started, right? And then from there, right, it extends all the way into where Rome has a split. You have the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western Roman Empire. And what it's doing is we're moseying on down the prophecy timeline to bring it to our times. That's what we're doing, right? So this is the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. It says, and after this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue of the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. That's a lot of good. That's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Let's jump down to verse number 19, because not only did this empire have iron teeth, it had something else. Let's go jump down to verse 19. It says, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were iron and nails of brass. And we know the Roman Empire, their symbol was the eagle. And the eagle, one of the most deadly parts of the eagle is its nails that's on its claws, or its feet, I should say. Slocky, nails on its claws. That's crazy. It's the nails on its claws or its feet. That's the most deadly part of the eagle, right there. So the Romans were anthropomorphized as an eagle. The iron nail, the teeth of iron teeth and nails of iron represents their military strength. They were very, very great military. One of the most advanced militaries seen up until that time. And America patterns a lot of its military strategies and everything on ancient Rome, as well as ancient Persia as well too. And Greece to a degree, but Persia and Rome a lot. Right? Let's move on. So you guys notice that Daniel does not mention what type of beast this is. I told you. I told you what the beast was. Remember, when Daniel was speaking about the Assyrian Babylonians, it was a lion with eagle's wings. It said it. When it was the Medes and Persians, it was the bear. It said it. When it was the Greeks, it was the leopard with 4 heads and 4 wings. It said it. But notice here, Daniel says he sees a fourth beast. He says it's dreadful. It's strong exceedingly. It has iron teeth. It breaks stuff into pieces and all that stuff, but it doesn't anthropomorphize this beast. It doesn't tell you what animal this beast is compared to. Let's look at the book of Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. Isaiah 34, verse 16. It says, seek out the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. No prophecy in the Bible is going to fail. None shall want her mate. You can't mate the Bible with any other book. For my mouth hath commanded it. Right, the Most High's mouth has commanded these prophecies to come to pass. And his spirit has gathered. The Most High causes these prophecies to come to pass, whether it be through man on earth, or sometimes the Most High will send the angels to do his bidding. Right? Verse 17. And he hath cast a lot for them, and have divided it unto them by line. So when the Most High said he divided the prophecies by line, the Most High did not show all the prophets everything. There were a few men the Most High showed everything to. The Most High showed everything to Moses, right? The Most High showed everything to Solomon. You read about that in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. The Most High said he showed him the beginning, midst, and end of times. So the Most High showed Solomon everything, save when Christ was coming back. Let me be real specific, except that. The Most High showed Solomon everything, the beginning, midst, and ends of times, except when Christ was coming back. And Yahweh knew everything too, Jesus Christ. The rest of the prophets, they had pieces. So Daniel had a big piece. Most High showed him 3 of the 4 beasts anthropomorphized as animals, but the 4th one, Most High didn't show him that. Did not show it to him. But the Most High did show it to Ezra. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 11, verses 36 to 40. It says, then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, it was a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, hear thou, I will talk to thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remaineth of the 4th beast, which I made to reign in my world, that the end of the times might come through them. Right? So the 4th beast is the eagle. The Lord did not give that to Daniel, but he showed it to the prophet Ezra. or Esdras, as the Apocrypha renders his name. That's the Lord dividing the prophecies by line. You get a piece, Isaiah gets a piece, Jeremiah gets a piece. Jeremiah and Isaiah got big pieces. Nahum got a little piece. Micah got a little piece. Obadiah got the littlest piece, but they all had a piece. And you put it all together, and now you have the vision. Now you can see everything clearly, which is why the Most High allowed for the Bible to be put together, the canon to be put together, so now we can run down this timeline because we have everything in this book, right? That's why it's not mentioned in Daniel what the fourth beast was, because people always ask that. Why did the Most High show Daniel what the fourth beast was? Because the Most High divided the prophecies by line. He had to leave something for Ezra. He had to leave something for the other prophet, Ezra. But together now we understand the whole thing. Because if you guys go to Google, let me show y'all something, right? Real quick. Where we at? What time is it? Okay, I got to get ready to end this. 1 second. Let me show y'all something real quick. When you come here to Google Images and you put in the four beasts of Daniel, right? Of Daniel chapter 7, right? What in the blue blazes is this? This is the fourth beast, a dragon with 10 horns. No, they made that up. Look at this one. A dragon with 10 heads and 10. No, this is not the same. And you know why they did this? You know why they did this? Because in Revelation chapter 12, it mentions the beast or the dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. So because you see 10 horns in Revelation, they said, oh, that must be the beast in Daniel. No, 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 no. The beast is the eagle. The Lord gave that vision to Ezra or Esdras. Okay. Yeah, fam. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop there because I gotta make sure. Hey, y'all, Zachariah, if you can find if the link is available, if you can find a link for the God First Gang, post it at the top of the room on Clubhouse, please. Post it on the top of the room on Clubhouse. Hey, fam, if you brothers and sisters enjoyed the lesson, do you guys want me to continue tomorrow? I want you guys to put one in the chat. Not tomorrow, next Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow. I got to do my academy tomorrow. Next Saturday, if you guys want me to continue where I left off, as we mosey on down the Prophecy Highway, put one in the chat. Let me know. If y'all want me to do something else, put 2. I'm looking to see what's going on in the chat. Y'all want me to continue, put 1 in the chat. We'll pick it up next week. Remember what we're doing. Remember what our goal is. Our goal is to find out when the hell we getting out of here. We already realized we can't be looking at no calendar. That ain't going to help. That done failed us. 2000, 2012, 2019, that done failed us, right? So we're going down the Prophecy Highway. So I'm seeing a lot of ones. All praise to the Most High. Just 2 things, points of order real quickly, brothers and sisters. Everybody that emailed me for the Passover, the email is at the bottom of the screen. I should have responded to you. If I overlooked anybody, I'm literally about to log off and go and check to make sure I didn't overlook anybody. I'm going to give you guys instructions in the emails. If I did overlook you, you should be just check your emails before the end of the day. Everybody in the email should have a response. Number 2, and this is strictly for the sisters. March the 26th, we're doing a class specifically geared towards the sisters, Proverbs 31. We're going to deal with that. It's going to be a presentation on Proverbs 31. Some of our beautiful sisters are confused. You think because you wear a long dress and a head wrap that you're a Proverbs 31 woman. No, that's not what that scripture says. You might want to go and review it again. But if you're not sure, we're going to do a presentation. We're going to give our sisters some help. Some of you sisters are single and you're looking for a husband, whatever, right? The Bible says, who can find a virtuous woman? Who can find a virtuous woman? Who can find, you know what that means? That means when you are found, you are already virtuous. And what is that virtuous woman? She's described in Proverbs 31. You want to have all those attributes when you are found, meaning you're working on yourself now so that when you are found with those attributes. That's the point. We're going to do that class the 26th of March. That's strictly going to be for the sisters, any sister. Of course, if you're part of another camp, you got to get permission from your elder to be a part of that particular class. I don't want nobody in no presentational class that you didn't speak to your elder and they come mad at me like, no. Make sure you get proper permission if you are a part of another body. But any sisters that are interested in it, the email is scrolling along the bottom of the screen. please email us and let us know. We look forward to seeing this open to any sisters. It's free, you know, and it's a chance just for the sisters to get together and have this conversation. All right, Passover is coming up April 3rd. I'm excited. A lot of people are saying that they're going to be showing up. They're going to be pulling up. I'm really excited to see you, brothers and sisters, and hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Lastly, last point of business, if you're watching this channel and you are not subscribed, you ought to repent and believe the gospel. If you have not hit the like button, after I'm sitting there dropping all this game on you, repent and believe. The kingdom is at hand. And you ain't repent yet? Repent. Share the video. Subscribe. Like. Show your brother some love. It's your brother, Priest Daniela, representing Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV. And with that, brothers and sisters, 10 a.m. next week, right here on this channel, I say shalom.
From 100.
God had his hand on me since before the womb. I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible.
Amen.
I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible. He had his hand on me since before the womb. You think I started in the womb? He had his hand on me since before the womb. Like, oh, this is going to do this. He's going to make this happen. You're going to touch this person. You're going to touch these people. You're going to... Yo, I am God's child. I am God's child. I am God's child.
Yeah. The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go.
I describe myself as cold with a conscience. Can't roll with the nonsense. Don't mistake the cover of the book for its contents. I might show you kindness, swim with the piranhas. Things that we forget and to come back and remind us. Like we all have a past we want to put behind us. Designed to be good, but evil always seems to find us. A man can only change the things he acknowledges. Plus this beat is flame, with skills over politics. Won't be the same. What really has me stressing out? The gyms are closed, so I can't get this aggression out. Before we get the promises, there must be offenses. The Bill Gates of hell won't prevail against us. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Say my prayers. Thank God for blessing me. My life's an open book. Could that be why they're testing me? Maybe everything I do is done out of necessity. Stock is on the rise. I think you should invest in me. It's not strange. I'm money like blockchain. Except the things in life that I cannot change. Chant down Babylon. Payback is coming. I ain't LeBron James. You thought I came back for nothing? The game is canceled in the blink of an eyelash. Flow is sick. Grab your N95 mask. The new normal. It gets even scarier. All black and white. There is no gray area. Plain as day. We got the whole package, baby. Competition, their rhymes are all average. Baby. And that's my 16. Nothing else to say, y'all. 5G raps, find me under the radar. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Bounce.
The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go.
I'm from the city, they say never sleep. People you can never please. Words of blue checks that Twitter gives celebrities. Sometimes it's commercial, sometimes herbal remedies. Guaranteed to be 100 like centipedes. I claim my innocence, although innocence. I ain't perfect, I'm trying to cleanse my innocence. Not alone, I'm assisted by some instruments. And when I'm done, I'm on to doing bigger things. No holes barred, take no prisoners. Aim for the sky, potential is limitless. Before we get the promises, there must be offenses. The Bill Gates of hell won't prevail against us. They don't really want,